I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Apparently, I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-year-old boy podcast, coming to your house and killing your bird. You got a parrot? He's dead. He's fucking dead to me and to you. You're gonna come into your house and find him just fucking beak up on his back in his cage. Done. Finished. I'm gonna poison his millet. Do birds eat millet? I don't even know. What is millet? I think it's something birds eat. Don't they make that bell out of millet? They have that bell. That bell is made out of millet. A millet bell. Oh, suck on that, millet bell, bird. All right, so it's the 40-year-old boy podcast, folks. And here's this. That's my teeth. I love. You know why? Because the microphone, I can hear them like in my head bursting, and I think they sound great. I like the sound of my teeth. How does that? I'll do the whole show in Morse code with my teeth. How does that grab you folks? You like that? You know what that was? Morse code? 40-year-old podcast. What's happening, Mike Schmidt? That's right. Get a pen. ... molar bicuspid molar. So it is late. I think I'm even speaking in a more quiet fashion because we're recording late in the evening. It's Tuesday night. Normally I've settled into a nice routine with a Wednesday record where I've been able to come and do a Wednesday night show. And then, unfortunately, my producer and who's riding shotgun on all of these shows, Lily Von Stupp, I think you may hear in the background sometimes. She's a friend and lets me use her kitchen to put out my radio show that nobody listens to on a radio. And she's like, oh, you know what? I got to tell you something. I'm very busy Wednesday, very busy going to Disneyland. And I said, wow, that seems very busy. And she's bringing her real friends there. That'll be fun. And what's funny is she called me when I called her to talk about the podcast. She's like, look, I really need to do it Tuesday. That would be good because we're taking this other couple to Disneyland. Now, listen, the reason we asked them was because he really, like she had to explain to me why she's not bringing me and Karen. I don't care. That's fine if that's the way it goes. But I could just hear it in her voice that she felt it was a delicate area that she had to tiptoe through. Like I was going to freak out that I couldn't go to Disneyland. And believe me, I got plenty of other reasons to freak out, folks. I don't need the non-trip to Disneyland to be one of them. But she said that. She's like, you know what? The reason we're bringing these other people is it's this person's favorite place to go in the world. And also, he's going to die soon. And we're in the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And it's his last wish is to go and eat fancy dinner at that hidden place in Disneyland behind Pirates of the Caribbean, Door 18, or whatever the fuck it's called. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm pissed. I can't do my podcast on Wednesday, but that's fine. She's like, well, how about Tuesday night? I go, well, you know what? I have a show Tuesday night, so I'm going to have to come late. I'll probably be at your house around like 12:30 or 1 o'clock. She's like, no problem. That's no problem. Because she was so happy that I didn't blow up over the Wednesday Disneyland thing that she was willing to kind of give me a little rope where she's like, no, that's cool. I'm like, hey, I can't come to your house till 2. That's cool. That's no problem at all. I think it's going to be great. Thank you. I'm so happy you're accommodating me. Thank you so much. Because again, she's just happy that I didn't fucking lose it. So I then do my show tonight. And it went very well. I'll talk about it in a second. But then I called Lily. I was leaving the show at 11:15. And I had to go home first and see my wife. And I was hoping to get something to eat, because I hadn't eaten anything yet. And so I said to her, I called her up and I go, hey, Lily, I just left my show. She's like, well, hurry up and come over here. And I said, okay, well, I got to go to my house first. And she's like, that's fine. Could you just use your time prudently? Because apparently I'm in fucking 5th grade and she's my teacher now. Use your time prudently. And I'm like, well, what happened yesterday when it was like, hey, I might be there till 3 a.m. And she's like, that's okay. That's fine. No problem. No problem at all. And then today it's like, hey, could you fucking get over here immediately, please? Because we're ready to go. You know what? Why don't you just start talking? I'll put the microphone up to the fucking phone while you're in your car. We'll get that down. We'll lay tracks down while you're driving. You hump. Don't you realize I have a life? Yes, I do. But I told you that my life made it where I would have to be over at your house around 2 or 3. And then it was like, oh, that's okay. Oh, thank you so much for deigning to do that. I'm so happy because I really want to go see a guy in a mouse suit. But then today it was like, get your fucking ass over here, dick. So I had to speed up and go home. I didn't get to eat. I just go home and put my blazer away. That's right, I wore a blazer tonight, folks. Suck on that. That's what kind of show it was. It was a blazer show. It actually wasn't even a comedy show. It was a blazer fashion show. And they asked me to come by. I walked out. I wore my blazer that doesn't fit. And I did a couple of pirouettes and some turns. Showed them the lining on my blazer from Bulgaria from the Fat Guy store. That's my favorite part. It's not even a brand. Like, it's just a blazer, and it just says made in Bulgaria on it on the inside. And it's fuzzy. Like, it's kind of velvety on the outside. And it's nice. And unfortunately, because I have lived in the bottom of a candy container for the past fucking 3 months, it doesn't fit anymore. But it sure looked good when it fit. But now my Bulgarian blazer is in my kitchen. Or no, it's in my closet. I had to go hang it up and then run away really fast so I could prudently use my fucking time to get here and record by 1 o'clock in the morning. And it is. It's 1 o'clock now, I think. No, is it 12:30? 1? I don't even know. All I know is I'm here, thankfully, so Lily can go tomorrow. She's already got the car running to go to Disneyland tomorrow. She's very excited. And I don't blame her. Sure, it's the happiest place on earth. Second, well, it's, you know what? It's the second happiest. Second only to sitting in here in a kitchen and having a fake laugh at a podcast. Other than that, which I'm sure that's the happiest place on earth for her. She's just like, this is so great. I wish I was doing anything but this. I did a show tonight, folks, and it went really well. It was great. It was the annual halftime comedy show at the CDR Comedy Death Ray at the theater of what? UCB. Theater of what? What? You know what? It should be called the Theater of what? It's like the Cafe Wah, where Mart Saul did his stand-up when he was growing up. He was growing up. Apparently he was a child doing stand-up. He invented the art form and went to Cafe Wah. So I'm at the Theater of what? I'm at the UCB Theater. And did a show, and it was featuring a very funny Howard Kramer and a very funny Eddie Pepitone and a very funny Joe Wagner. Very funny guys, all knocking out of the park with their brand of humor. And then Andy Kindler goes up, and he's fucking Andy Kindler, and he's tearing it up. Michelle Balloon was great. Met a new guy named Pete Holmes tonight out of New York. Very funny guy. And here's Pete Holmes' thing. Like, he's like, oh, I don't have a set list. Like, I just kind of talk and figure out what's going to happen. And I'm like, really? I got a podcast you might be interested in. But that's his deal. Like, he goes on stage and just kind of talks. And I'm like, wow, that's novel. I do that too. That's pretty fun. And he's great. He's very funny. And then there was Dana Gould, who I see Dana Gould do stand-up, and I don't even think I shouldn't even be in the same room with that guy because he's so fucking good at it. It's retarded. Dana Gould just gets up there and tears it up, and he's so funny. And then Patton Oswalt goes up after Dana Gould and makes me realize that as good as Dana Gould is, Patton Oswalt is. I mean, they're both fantastic. I'm not gonna denigrate one for the other. But again, let's put it this way: let's compare them to me, and I shouldn't even pick up a pen ever again and try to write a fucking joke because the two of them are just fucking masters. Patton today again is just talking, and I know the trick. I'm sure it's all prepared material and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter. Just sitting there watching it, and I'm in the back with Eddie Pepitone, and I'm hearing bits, and I'm just going there. You know what? These bits are there to be written. They're all right there. And then you get on your own ass about it because you're like, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I? It's right there. It's literally connect the dots funny, but he makes it that much funnier because he fucking thought of it, and it's simple, but then he completely gilds it with the Patton and gilds it with the Patton. By the way, that sounds like, that sounds like an instruction in an old-timey cookbook. Like, you're like, all right, stir the buckwheat in and then make sure you gild it with the Patton, and then you'll have Johnny cakes before morning. So... but just watching them work was just fantastic. And again, you just sit there and shake your fucking head because it's like you aspire to be those guys. It's like when I would work with Jimmy on the road. I would work with Jimmy Pardo on the road, and I would just sit there fucking stunned. I mean, it was different every time, and he made it look so easy and breathtakingly funny, and just really. Just fun to watch. So it's great when you see the guys who are at the top of their game do it, and to watch Patton and Dana go back to back tonight was incredible. And to see, everybody was great. Andy went first, and he's fantastic. Everybody's fantastic, but it was just it was great. So then I used my time prudently and put my blazer away, and then got here to do this show. So I don't know to come and talk in circles for no reason. This is just foolish. I cut my hair off this week. I shaved my head. Didn't mean to. I think, you know what? I think subconsciously I meant to. I went to my haircut lady and I was like, all right, here's what I want. I just want you to buzz the sides like on a 3 yard, and then let's figure out the top. Just like mushroom cap the top. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah. You know what? Just and then she goes, why don't I just blend it? I'm like, all right, I'll listen to you. So she went and buzzed it and blended it, and it looked okay. It looked good. It didn't look like what I wanted it to look like, though. I wanted it buzzed on the sides and in the back, and just a little, like I said, mushroom cap on the top where it was like long. And I go, you know what? Do me a favor, shave off the blending and then see where it goes. And then she did, but by that time she'd already cut the top of my hair too short to make it for it to look good. And this is the first time I've ever told Natalie what to do with my hair. Like normally I just kind of trust her and it happens, and she's really cool about it. And this time I guess she was cool. And this story has no payoff. That's why I shaved my head. There you go. Finally, it didn't look good. She's like, well, I go, this looks terrible, right? And she goes, it's not a haircut I would have. I go, you know what? Shave my fucking head. And Karen was there, and Karen's like, yeah, you wanted it shaved anyway. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I really think I did. I mentioned it like a few times. And so, yeah, I just cut it off. It's not shaved. It's not like, because Karen got crazy. She's like, you know what? If you're going to do this, you should just go to the skin. And I said, no. I go, you know why? Because I'll probably have some weird milk dud head. I go, because I already have like a big fat, because I have to wear an 8 baseball hat. I mean, that's how big my skull is. And I can't even imagine shaving it, because then it just, what if your head is really ugly, like a crazy ugly skull? And I'm not saying that it would be or it wouldn't be, but by that point, once you shave your hair off and you look, you're like, all right, well, I got to buy some hats. I mean, if your head looks ridiculous, then you have to go ahead and cover it up somehow. And it's funny, I had done an audition earlier that day, and then I went and cut my hair off, and I'm like, well, if you somehow, in some Hail Mary miracle, get this part, you can't shave your head completely off. I mean, cutting your hair down a little bit, because I'm a mover in England. I'm sure they'll be able to work around my goofy hair, but if I shaved it all off and I had a big, evil, like shiny milk dud head, fuck all that. I don't want a crazy alien trophy room skull. Nobody wants that. I know I don't. So it's clean. It's a 3-guard all the way around, and it looks sharp. By sharp, I mean it looks like you could cut your hand on it. So, and Karen does this thing now where it's like, because like she wants to rub my head, which is fine, and I understand that. But then she wants to bite it, like she wants to bite my hair, and it's like, and she'll do it. She gets up and she's like, and then it's like a baby sheep eating grass. Like you ever see them doing that, and they're just kind of grazing. She's grazing on my head, and it's like, oh, this is fun, sort of. And then it's just weird for all involved, particularly the rest of the people in the restaurant. They don't understand it at all. They're just like, why is that woman doing that to that man's crazy milk dud head? That's why. I am not feeling it tonight, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. You know why? Because it's just weird. It's weird doing it late at night. It's weird. And I won't lie. Also, I'm pissed that I was told to be prudent with my time and get here. And so then I'm a child. So then my head shuts down. My head just is like, well, fuck it. Maybe then I won't do it. Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to be a fucking grown-up and sack up and fucking do it. But unfortunately, my brain is then just like, well, I'm not going to help. Good luck to you. So I sit here on fumes and just fucking ping-pong around trying to fucking find anything and catch something. And it's not happening. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, you can tell. You can hear it right away. And I'm very disappointed, too, because I understand iTunes will soon be naming the best podcast of 2008. And I really hoped this was going to be my entry. And... because that's what they do, is they listen to episode 38, and that is, in their opinion, that's truly the bellwether of whether a show is good or not, if it's still good during episode 38, not whether it was good 1 through 37, because I think, I gotta be honest, I'm pretty excited about 1 through 37. I enjoyed them. I remember 25 being pretty good, and I liked 9, but here at 38, folks, it's like a company, here at 38, I gotta tell you, satisfaction is not guaranteed. And the customer is not always right. Because here at 38, things have gone sour. This isn't even going to be the best 38 on the internet. 538.com is the best 38 on the internet. 538 is great. You go read it. It's all about statistics and the election. Oh, it was fantastic. I couldn't stop reading. Nate Silver is a genius. It's so funny when you read about a guy and you're like, that guy is going to be making billions of dollars soon. Fairly soon, you would think. And then you go on the website and people they like him a lot. And then you go to other websites and people are like, he's a nerd. People suck, folks. Let's be honest. Nobody likes people. Do you like people? You don't, do you? This is the worst podcast ever. Worst episode of, you know what? Let's just do that. We'll say worst episode of a podcast ever. Not worst podcast ever. That would be, I would really be throwing out the baby with the bathwater at that point. And I just want to throw out the baby. I just want to see it bounce. I want to toss that baby from a tall window and see it bounce off a parking garage. That's what I want to see. See if that baby goes into a tuck and roll and sits up and cries. Worst episode ever. I'm the comic book guy. That's who I am. This is the worst episode. This is the lost episode. This is the episode. You know what? I might have to put one of the first 20 back on just to pull this one off the internet. Jesus Christ. I want to punch myself right in the face. And I'm not even kidding. Like, that's not even like a phrase or like a saying. You know what? I'm going to do it just to see what it sounds like on the microphone. I want to hear what it sounds like. I just want to hear what it sounds like.
I'm not watching.
No, hold on. All right, you ready? Well, that was just, but that didn't sound good. That didn't sound clean at all. I mean, that was a punch to the jaw. Hold on, let's try it. You know, I'll go forehead because forehead always makes a good noise. You ready? All right, it's not. You know what? I should be punching meat like the Foley guys for movies.
Yeah, no, you actually punched yourself.
Yes, a couple times. Yeah, so I mean, because I want to hear. Because honestly, this is.
Fake it. You punched yourself. You're red.
Well, if I fake it, everybody's like, "Oh, that was a fake punch." But if you really hit yourself, then everybody's like, "Oh, dude, I totally heard that."
Red where you smacked yourself.
Yeah, I'm aware of this. I've done this before. I do it This is what I do Tuesday nights. See, you don't understand. If this was a Wednesday, I couldn't do it. Wednesday, punching myself is out the fucking window. But Tuesday nights, forget about it. It's a slugfest for me. That's all it is about Tuesday. That's usually why I'm so excited for the show on Wednesday. Because Tuesday night, I spend the entire time just fucking taking pokes at myself. Just giving myself I go 15 rounds with my own skull. I might have a concussion. That would make the show better. If I had a concussion, I would welcome that. This is like, I did a show one time at the UCB, and I came out, and they were playing, I think I talked about this in the podcast before, they played like heavy metal music, and so I just fucking said, all right, well, I'm going to bang my head a little bit here, like, crazy whiplash neck, and I hit my head into the microphone like 4 times, because I go, that'll make a great noise, and then proceeded to do a set, not knowing blood was trickling down my head the entire set. And it was like 6 minutes in finally, and I think I kept like wiping my eye, and everybody kept thinking, because I felt something.
Yeah.
And everybody, it was almost the thing where everybody's like, whoa, but nobody wanted to tell me. And the thing is, they didn't tell me, they weren't like, oh, I'm not going to tell him because it's funny. I think they were genuinely like, oh, wow, I don't want to tell him because it's freaky. And let's see how far this goes. And so I just kept talking, and this blood was running down. And then finally, Eric, who was the producer of this podcast, because this is a pre-podcast, Eric gets up and leaves his seat. And then he comes back and hands me a paper towel. And I go, am I sweating that much? He goes, you're bleeding. And I put my thing up, and I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, and it was in a nice waffle pattern because of the microphone, And I was like, oh, Jesus. And then it was good. I got like 6 minutes out of that. And so that was fine. Maybe that's what I need to do here. I need to start bashing my head into something. That'll be fine. That'll improve this episode and improve my lot in life. Yeah. If you want blood, you got it, friends. And I actually used that. I used If You Want Blood as the music once. Can't use it now. Although it would be, you know what? I should use it again because A, we're talking about blood. And B, I went and saw AC/DC this weekend, folks. How does that grab you? I'm sure you're all excited. Lily faking again. Why do you fake? You just leave. Honestly, you don't need to fake it. Yeah, you love AC/DC, but why would you say woo? Nobody would say woo.
I do.
I'm going to punch myself again. No, I won't. Come on, please. Nobody gets hit but me. And I've grown up, folks. That's it. Nobody gets hit but me. That's the way it works. Because I went to AC/DC, and there was a guy who, if you were going to hit a guy, it would have been this guy, and I didn't hit him. But no, honestly, I take that back. He didn't deserve to be hit. He was just having a good time, but he was a guy that had great potential to get hit by the wrong guy. Does that make sense? I went to AC/DC, and it was myself and Jim Pardo. You may have heard of him, and Pat Francis. He's a friend. And the three of us went to AC/DC this past weekend, and it was Saturday, so and we were ready to rock, and so we got saluted. So we wind up at the show, and we're upstairs we're at the Forum, first of all, which I think I've made my feelings clear about the Forum already. But if I haven't, the Forum is just, Jimmy and I actually came to an agreement where we were like, you know what, it's not that this place is bad, because I guess he went and saw a concert there, and he said the crowd was fine, and once the crowd is fine, the place is fine. But every time I go to a show at the Forum, it's some leftover band from the 80s that, shouldn't be drawing any sort of fan base, and these people all pull up in their Camaros and, whisk their mullets and dash back in to go see some hard rock. So that's why I see at the Forum, unfortunately. I don't get to see the Yo-Yo Ma's of the world. I have no idea if Yo-Yo Ma's playing the Forum. Actually, he is. He opened for Motley Crue when I was there. All right, so we go to the show, and as we're heading inside, first of all, I used the bathroom at the Forum, and they have a piss trough, which I referenced last week. It's just this weird metal. It's a trough. I mean, it's like a mailbox without a lid, and you're supposed to take a piss in it. So they have that, and then the whole floor is like indiscriminately wet. Like you don't know if it's piss. You don't know what's on the floor. But I was walking and I slipped, and but didn't fall down. Like I caught myself and then made it out of the bathroom safely. And I told Pardo, I go, you know what? I slipped. I go, and I'll tell you what. If I slip and fall in that bathroom, just fucking shoot me where I lay. I got no interest in standing up and wearing these clothes out anywhere. I don't want to sit in my own fucking car unless you can somehow get a crane to lift me up and boil me before I head home. If I fall down on that bathroom floor, just put a goddamn bullet in my head and let the blood run all over my clothing so people like, oh, good, he's covered in blood, not piss. Honestly, I don't want to fall in that goddamn bathroom. So we go to the show. We're upstairs in our seats. Upstairs. We're on the second floor. And I'm an idiot. Because AC/DC played in an apartment building. So we go there, and I'm in the middle. Jimmy's to my right, and Pat's to my left. And I tell Jimmy, I go, look, if you need me to move so you can stand in the middle and see past me, because I'm a little taller than Jim. And he's like, all right, well, I'm fine right now. So show starts, and everything's fine. They are rocking. They're tearing it up. They open with a little Rock and Roll Train, a song where they never say rock and roll ever in it. They say Runaway Train, but they literally, Pat told me this is true, they named it Rock and Roll Train because two other bands already had songs named Runaway Train. That's AC/DC's logic. Oh, I love AC/DC. So, and I will tell you this, the show was fantastic. And we kept looking at each other in amazement going, I don't know how they could have ever sounded better even in 1980 on the Back in Black tour because they sounded fucking amazing. They were so good. So about 5 songs in, or 3 songs in, this group of 3 people comes up and walks, they squeeze by us in our row. And it is a woman with a pierced face. Like, not just any part of her face. I mean, she looks like she slipped and fell face first into a tackle box. I mean, like, it's that kind of weird head. Like, it's the kind of person, if you got behind her in security in the airport, you're missing your fucking flight. Because she has this weird, she literally looks like she should be in a Clive Barker film. I'm talking, like, pinhead, crazy fucking metal, all sorts of shit sticking out of her face. And she walks by, and then she's with her boyfriend, who looks like Carmen Appice. Now, if you don't know who that is, he was a drummer for Ozzy and Rod Stewart in the 70s and 80s. He's got like that crazy corkscrew, curly hair and the big mutton chop mustache. And this guy's wearing, he also looked like Mark Storis from Crocus, this guy. And again, I don't know why I know Mark Storis from Crocus's name, but I do. Feel free to Google him and Google Carmen Appice, or Appice. I think it's Appice, Appice. And Google the two of them. You'll see who walked by us in a sleeveless denim vest. And like a shirt that was open. He was all hairy, and he's with fucking metal face. And they walk by, and they bring their third friend, who looks like Mike Muir from Suicidal Tendencies. And he's another one. He's got he's got a bandana on, and he's got crazy jewelry in his face and in his ears. And they slide down us, and they get the 3 seats next to Pat. 3 songs into AC/DC. Everything was uneventful and going well. We were enjoying the show. They get next to Pat, and this guy, Mike Muir, is on the end. He's next to Pat, and he starts wailing, headbanging, and winging his arms around and just yelling, "Woo! AC/DC fucking rules!" and crazy, basically if you were to make a movie about guys who love heavy metal and how silly they are, this guy is it. But to his credit, he didn't stink. Sometimes guys like that have a body odor thing happening because they're so sweaty and they're headbanging. But he was, he seemed pleasant enough. So he starts doing his thing, and he's windmilling, and he's bumping, and he's gradually just taking over Pat's personal space. And Pat is inching toward me because I'm in the middle, and Pat keeps coming toward me. And I look at Pat, I go, do you want to switch seats? And he's like, no, I'm cool, man. And meanwhile, then this guy starts like waving his arms around and mosh, almost like he's trying to get Angus's attention, which is not going to happen. But he's yelling, woohoo, and he's turning around, and he's having a good time. That's all this man is doing, is he's having a good time. But it's also one of those guys where you think he's one beer away from being dangerous. So he keeps turning around to the row behind us and going, yeah, fucking AC/DC. And he's pointing at people and shaking hands and hugging them. Like he's doing all this weird, just this indiscreet. But he's so happy. Again, that's the thing, is he's so happy to be there. Now, I'll tell you, old me, all I would have seen is his jackassery and hopping around. And I would have been like, well, this guy's getting fucking smoked. Like eventually this guy's going to have to get dropped. But instead, new me, I'm watching him dance around, and I'm just like, this guy's having a really good time. Unfortunately, his really good time is possibly ruining Pat's good time. Because Pat's trying to watch the show, too, and he's just getting, fucking assholed and elbowed by this guy. It's terrible. So finally, the guy completely takes over Pat's personal space, and he's, like, moshing, and I physically grab Pat, and I go to move him. He goes, what are you doing? I go, switch with me. Seriously. He goes, all right. So he switches, and he gets in my spot, and then I go into Pat's spot, and I basically put up a wall. And this guy turns around, he looks at me, and he just goes, hey, buddy, and he like hugs me. And again, he didn't smell, and the thing is, all I was praying is that he didn't get beer on me, because the whole time he's doing all this, he's got 2 beers. He's 2-fisted beers. And I'm like, if he spills beer on me, we're going to have a problem. But otherwise, I don't care. Because again, new me, folks. New me was enjoying AC/DC, and new me was having a good time. And he's dancing, and he's jostling me, and he's bumping me, but I'm holding my ground, so it's kind of like he's just bumping into me. So then I took my glasses off after like a song and a half next to this guy, and I put them in my pocket. And Pat grabs my shoulder, and I look, and Pardo goes, you having some trouble? And I go, what? And he goes, and they both said, you took your glasses off. Because other concerts I've been to, when I take my glasses off, it means, all right, bad things are about to happen for me and others. And I was like, no, he's bumping me, and I don't want to send them flying like 3 rows away, because if he catches me, they're going to go flying. And they're just like, okay, just making sure. But new me, folks. This is new me. Old me is putting my glasses away and bracing himself. I'll admit, flashes of old me were there. Because I took a look at both of his hands, and I saw that he had rings on both hands, and I thought, well, I can't let him hit me. And I tried to explain later what that means is I got to get in close. So I'm just like, because both of his hands, he had rings on all of his fingers, and the last thing I'm going to do is catch a fucking shot with rings. So what I got to do is I got to get in close and get control of his shirt and just fucking judo push him back, and then just start fucking raining elbows in his face. So and that's old me though. That's what old me would think or do. New me was like, this is a fantastic time at AC/DC with my new friend who likes jewelry. So, and then part of me is thinking, wouldn't it be great if he punched the girl in the face? Because then he's got all these rings and she's got all that shit in her head. It would be like, a demolition derby when the cars can't pull apart. Just his hand in her head, they'd just be tugging it and fucking skin getting pulled and rings getting moved. That'd be awesome to see. I wish he would have jacked her. That would have been hysterical. But no such luck. He didn't punch the chick. No such luck. The show was not livened up by that guy taking a shot at anybody. But instead he danced and he fucking kept hugging me and high-fiving me, and I was hugging him back, and we were headbanging and just having a great time. And then with like 5 songs left in the show, they left. Him, Appice, and fucking Fishhook had to take a walk. And in my head, I'm just going, where do they go? I mean, they're having such a great time and enjoying themselves. I understand they drink a ton of beers. They probably got to hit the head. And I'm like, well, they'll be back. But then when they don't come back, you're like, because again, that guy is, if he's the wrong guy away from getting arrested. Because if he goes to the wrong guy and hugs him and goes, dude, and that guy goes, dude, and then punches him in the solar plexus, and that guy's got a ring sandwich he's got to eat. And then everybody goes to jail, and fucking Carmen Appice can't be in the Do You Think I'm Sexy video. So I'm waiting for them to come back, but then they didn't. But then the rest of the show was fantastic. It was great. So AC/DC was good. Old me, you never know what old me could have done. Old me might have been in trouble, but it was new me. I didn't have Anything happened? I didn't hit anybody. Nothing happened. Like I said, I thought I planned ahead because again, I just do that. That's just something I do where I always think ahead about what's going to happen and how would I hit this guy and who's going to take out Appice and all that kind of stuff. And it's always funny to do with Pat and Jimmy because I knew if a fight started with me and Pat and Jimmy, Pat and Jimmy are gone. I mean, they are just, Pat would dive into the fight just to get my car keys out of my pocket and get to my car to get home. And actually, that's not even true. Jimmy would just drive Pat home. Jimmy would be like, you know what, let's get the fuck out of here. And I would look up with, a ring dangling from my eyelid. And I'm, fellas, nothing. Just me and Appice going at it with Ring Boy. All right. But then after the show, we had to go for autographs, of course. That's what we did. Pat wanted to get autographs of AC/DC, so we went and hung out afterwards. And we're by the buses. And AC/DC, by the way, they never come out. And it was funny. Both Jimmy and I told Pat, we're like, look, these guys are 60 years old. I mean, they're not going to walk out in the cold to their bus from the forum. If anything, they're going to ride. They're Australian. They might ride dingoes. Who knows what the fuck they're going to do? They're all going to climb into a kangaroo pouch and hop to the fucking hotel. We got no chance of meeting these guys. And but Pat wanted to go out there, and I have to admit, I go to concerts. It's 51% to see the band, 49% to see Pat and hang out with him because it's so much fun for me. And then to do anything that extends the night is fine with me. So I'm happy to hang out for autographs. I'm looking forward to it. And because it reminds me of when we used to sleep out for tickets when we were kids. Like, I don't know if you guys ever did that. Again, a lot of you were young. Folks, you're young. Old people know what I'm talking about. You used to have to go to Rose Records or go to the Flip Side or go to, some record store and sleep out front and try to wait for the morning at 10 a.m. when they would sell tickets. And we would do that when we were kids, and it was the greatest in the summer. It was not so great in the winter. I can tell you that I slept out in 1984 for Van Halen tickets in like February and in Chicago, which was just fucking death, folks. It was so bad. And here's what I did, because I'm a genius. We actually went to the Rosemont Horizon because there was a theory that you would get better tickets if you went right to the stadium. If people who went to record stores, whatever. We thought to ourselves that like it was going to open a minute earlier or we'd get better tickets. Who the fuck knows? But me and Eric Smith went and sat outside of the Rosemont Horizon, and we were so fucking cold that we went in. We paid to see a high school basketball doubleheader that was being played at the Horizon. We didn't even care who it was. It was like De La Salle and Hinsdale, and we didn't fucking care. I didn't give a shit if it was a midget rodeo. I was paying just to get in for the heat. They could have had whatever. It could have been a Nazi youth rally, and I'm like, sure, here's my money. Sign me up. You got a brown shirt? You got a couple of brown shirts? I'll throw them on because I'm fucking cold. I'm happy to do that salute. Just give me a mitten for my hand. So we go to this, and we're going to the basketball place. I'm just trying to thaw out. Again, my feet are blocks of ice. And here's how cold it is. After that ends, we have to go sit outside, and we're just sitting there because we got dropped off by friends who were then going to meet us later. So just me and Eric holding the fort. We're the only people there at the Horizon. We're like, this is going to be awesome. We are going to clean up on Van Halen tickets if we survive. If they don't find our fucking frozen corpses tipped over, not unlike the bird who I killed in the first part of this show. We're both going to be laying there beak up. So we're waiting for the tickets. Here's how cold it is. I have 1984, the Van Halen album, on a cassette, and I'm listening to it. The cassette stops. Like it freezes. The actual cassette player just freezes, and I'm wearing I wasn't a guy who wore a lot of coats. I'll tell you that about me. I wasn't a layers guy. I would wear like one coat because I hated coats. Because my logic was always, you know what? I'm going to wear the coat to the car and then go from the car to the house. I don't need to be warm that 5 minutes. But unfortunately, I didn't realize that I would be sitting outside. I did, and so I think I wore 2 pairs of socks and a garbage bag. I think I might have thrown a garbage bag into the mix. That was always good when we would wear the garbage bag. When we were kids, like wrestlers would always wear it to cut weight. Well, we'd go out to play football, and I'd throw a garbage bag on because it was fun, like a breakaway jersey. I don't know. I'm an idiot. So that's what I did as a child. And don't think I wouldn't do it now if we were playing tomorrow. I would don a garbage bag. But I wore long johns the other night to AC/DC. That's how things have changed. That's how old I am. I knew we were going to do autographs, so I have this pair of black long johns that I bought to go to the Bears game last year against the Packers. And I wore them, and Pat's just like, really? And I go, yeah, man, I might be cold out here. Who knows? And it wasn't cold. But I think I attribute that to the goddamn long johns, folks. They did their job. They were long, and they were John. So we sleep out for Van Halen tickets. We're there. And suffice it to say, we're so cold, and at one of them, our friends still haven't come. And this is before cell phones, okay? And there's no pay phones outside of the Rosemont Horizon. They're all inside the Horizon, which is now locked up for the night. So we're pounding on the door trying to get some janitor to let us use the phone because, again, we're wondering where our goddamn friends are. And finally our friends come at 2 in the morning, and they go, hey, they just said on the radio that they weren't going to be selling anything here at the Rosemont. And then we go, yeah, we know. We've been trying to call you guys because there's a sign right here in the ticket booth that says Van Halen tickets not on sale. So then we have to, unfortunately, go to, we went to Flipside? Yeah, I think Flipside in Downers Grove. And we had to go get in line and wait with people who'd already been there all night long. And then we're just freezing. And it was like literally being in a war because we're huddling with people we don't even know. And again, it's high school, so there's girls there, so you're still trying to look cool and still trying to be like, hey, how you doing? Like, let's share our body heat and for warmth. And maybe you could sit with me at the concert. Nope. But instead, we're all just like laying there under blankets and we're freezing. And also this happens because we get there and we get at the end of the line and we're waiting for Van Halen, whatever. And like around 6 in the morning, like 20 guys show up and just cut in line, like in the front. And we're saying, whoa, what are you doing? And they go, oh, well, these people have been saving like spots for us. We've been here all night. And they're like, yeah, we were saving spots. And I'm like, no, nobody's saving spots. And you need to get to the back of the line because, hey, I went to the fucking Horizon and I lost a cassette player and I'm ready to fucking kill somebody, goddammit. And then they start with no, we were saving spots. And we're like, no, you were not. Seriously, you need to get. And then there's a long line. So it's like I said, these 20 guys show up and they're like, hey, we're going to cut in line. And like 100 people are like, oh, no, you're not, because it's going to be a crazy fucking battle. Like, you ever see in the movie 300? This movie would have been called 1984 because that's the name of the Van Halen album we were all sleeping on for the tour. And because it would have been like those 20 Spartans against these 100 people in a huge fucking death battle. And they don't want any part of me because, again, I've been out all night, so I have no feeling in my extremities, which means I can just punch the fuck out of them with extreme prejudice. Like, my hands could shatter on their heads, and I wouldn't even fucking care. It would just be hammer fists galore, and I wouldn't feel a fucking thing until the next morning, because I would just fucking batter the shit out of them with feet and hands, just creaming them. And they would be like useless bloody husks at the end of it, and I would stand up, and my hands would be mangled and destroyed, but I wouldn't care, because, again, I wouldn't feel it. So they do not want to cut in front of me. And that's just me. There's 99 other fucking lunatics who feel the exact same way. And our hands and feet have been frozen into lethal weapons, and we're ready to fucking use them. So we finally straightened that out, which means they give their money to the people in line and say, all right, well, I'll just go. Yes, you will just go. Otherwise, they'll find your body in a goddamn snowdrift in June. I mean, when a snowdrift thaws in June. Anyway, so then they open the doors at 9:55. We've been there all night. We've fought back the evil Spartan horde that tried to cut in front of us, and we're all frozen. And like your hands are blue, but that weird tinge of blue where you're like, this might need medical attention. I'm not sure, but who cares, man? Diamond Dave and the boys. I got to get tickets. And so they open the show at 9:55. They open the store. Store opens at 10. They come out at 9:50, probably 9:50, and they announce that they're doing something new. What they're doing is they're going to be passing out wristbands to everybody, and then they'll put like a lottery where they'll call the numbers of the wristbands, and those people get to go. And we said, what? They said, yeah, it's something new that we're going to try. Really? We're going to try that? Could you have put a fucking sign out so we didn't sleep out here in the fucking igloo all night long, you cocks? Then they tell us they're only passing out 25 wristbands. So that means the first 25 people in line get a crack at tickets, and that would mean the rest of us get nothing. And I couldn't believe it. I'm just sitting, and I had a buddy who was up near the front of the line. And, of course, then what happens is, because there's no arguing, we start getting pissed and hitting the windows and freaking out. But, we're all tired and malnourished and frozen. I mean, nobody wants to charge into Rose Records and start beating the shit out of somebody. I mean, we do. Or the flip side, or wherever the hell I was. So what happens is the guy, our one friend in the front of the line, who did get a wristband, everybody, of course, gives him their money. They're just like, dude, you got to get us all tickets. He's like, okay, I'll try, but I don't think it's going to happen. And suffice to say, he didn't get the tickets. I had to buy them. And again, it was before Craigslist, so you had to buy them from some sophomore or somebody who wound up having extra tickets or couldn't go. So that was that sleeping out. But one time I slept out in the summer, and this was for, who was this for? This is for David Lee Roth tickets, his first solo tour. And this was summer, so then it was fun, and you got everybody's drinking, and you got a beach ball involved, and everybody's having a good time. But then there's always one fucking numbskull who's got to get drunk, and he's acting like a jackass, and he starts wrestling with people. And he's like, come on, let's go. He's like the Black Knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. How about you? And he's like charging at people, and I'm just there. And I'm not gonna lie to you folks, I'm making myself noticeable. Like I'm around the periphery of this guy calling people out because I'm hoping he takes a run at me because he's been obnoxious up to this point, and I'm thinking, you know what, maybe this guy will come over to me and start something because that's what you really want. It's like you're just leading with your chin the entire fucking time, hoping somebody grazes it so you can just fucking Tasmanian devil out on everybody. That's what's in. That was old me, by the way. That's old me. New me, not interested. New me sits back bemused at everybody and their weirdness. Old me, however, dives right into the fray. So, and I don't mean the band The Fray. Although right now, I got to be honest, new me would dive right into the band The Fray and just start kicking the shit out of them. Because I am tired of The Fray. I don't get it. I don't want to hear them. Get them off my XM radio. Get them off every single promo I've ever seen for any sort of television show. I got no interest in The Fray. So, when I stay out of the fray, old me jumps into the fray, but new me stays out of the fray, but new me jumps into the fray, the band The Fray, and cleans house. So, I'm sleeping out for the summer tickets, and I'm there, and this guy's like, he's kind of like pushing people, and he's doing that thing where everybody's having fun, but he's just buzzed enough to where he doesn't realize that he's being a dick. So then he starts like kind of wrestling with the guy, and I'm just standing there like Val Kilmer in Tombstone, just waiting to go, hey, I'm your Huckleberry. You want to wrestle, pal? I'm more than happy to do it. And again, this is old me. So old me is there, and this guy finally comes over to me, and he's like, what about you? And he kind of like playfully pushes me, and I'm like, and I playfully push him. And then he goes and dives at my legs, and he's trying, and I sprawl. All right, so basically, I'm standing straight up, and he dives to do a double leg takedown on me. So what he's trying to do is football drive me to the ground. He wants to put his hands behind my thighs and then push me down. So I sprawl, and I put him in a guillotine choke, which means basically I have he's facing me bent over, and I have my arm cinched under his chin. So I've got him like that, and I'm kind of, and he's pushing me, and I'm like, all right, calm down, buddy. And and he then punches me in the leg, like really hard. And I go, all right, easy with the punching, and I'm sprawling, and he's still trying, because he's trying to get me down. Like that was the whole thing. Can you get me down? Ha, you can't get me down. And I'm like, I'm happy to play get me down. Let's go. So I got him in the guillotine, and then he's kind of punching my legs, and I go, dude, you need to stop. All right, just stop that. And everybody's watching, and then he tries to hit me in the balls. Like he tries to kind of swing up, and I hop back, but I still keep the choke on, and I'm not choking him, mind you. I'm just holding him, controlling him in position. And I go, all right, you need to stop that, like right fucking now. You need to, and his friend just yells at him, and he's hey, cut it out. And then he's like, and then he tries to hit me in the balls again, and I go, do it one more time, do it one more fucking time, because it's that weird. If you've ever been in a fight where that's not really a fight, in the beginning it starts out where it's like, oh, this is okay, but something might happen here, and then it gets progressively darker and weirder, and you're like, all right, something bad is about to fucking happen, and you can either just stop and walk away, or you can do what old me did, which means put out a warning, even though you know that warning is bullshit, and you know that what's going to happen is going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I've got him in the guillotine, and he's trying to punch me, and then he tries to punch me in the balls a third time. And what I did was I just fucking DDT'd him right into the ground. Now, DDT is a wrestling move. And what it is basically, imagine if you're facing somebody, and then they bend over, and again, you get them in the guillotine choke, and their head is cinched on the side of your body. And then all you do is you jump backwards. You leave your feet and use all your weight to drive that person's head into the fucking ground. So I've got him, and he's there, and he's like, and it's like, and it was that weird, again, fights have a distinct sound to them as well, where it's like, he's like, come on, hey, jerk, hey, and he punches me, all right, stop that, and he punches me, all right, you need to cut that out, and his buddy goes, come on, cut it out, and I go, all right, do that one more fucking time, and then he does it again, and then people are like milling about, it's like, yeah, okay, because I dropped this guy right on his fucking skull, and that's not a smart thing to do. Because you could really hurt somebody. And if we were in the parking lot, it would have been bad. because basically he would have had all 315 of my pounds and all of his body weight land on his skull on the concrete. So I'm glad we did it on the grass. Because all that happened was I just drove him head first and I DDT'd him right into the ground and he went face first into the grass, and it was like this huge noise. Everybody's like, "Oh!" and I got up and he was out cold. He was fucking out cold and actually kind of like spasming, like like his body was jumping, and then part of me again, you don't think when you do things like that, folks. Because, and it's funny, you know what made me think of this was I watched Murderball. You ever see Murderball? Murderball, other than being the most amazing name for a sport or a movie, is a great documentary about quadriplegic rugby players. And it's fascinating. It's a great movie. I watched it. And as they're talking to the guys and they're explaining how they became quadriplegics, one of them goes, I was in a fight and I was in the backyard on a deck and a guy punched me and severed my spinal cord. And it made me and I actually had to pause because I had it on TiVo and I paused it and I had to think about all the times I've come close to having that happen. You know what I mean? And this was the story that I thought of was DDTing that guy because, I could have again, I wasn't thinking. You're not thinking when a fight happens. And it wasn't even a fight. We were just goofing around, but he got out of hand and, one thing led to another. And then, by the way, you never want to use that phrase when it means to you broke a guy's neck. One thing leads to another, and I snapped his neck in half. Ha ha! That's not a proper usage of that phrase. One thing never leads to that. It should never lead to that. But that's what made me think about it when I watched Murderball. I'm like, and that guy said that he got punched and his spinal cord broke, and I'm like, oh wow, fuck, how close have I come to having shit like that happen a million times? And I don't think I haven't thought about it. Every time, like whenever a thing was about to happen, I've always heard, because you always hear that story about the guy who threw a punch and the guy fell and hit his head on the curb and died, and then that guy had to go to jail forever just because he landed a clean right hook. You don't want that. Nobody wants to go to prison because they threw an effective short right on the button and turned the guy's lights out. And then he fell the wrong way and fucking snapped his neck. That's not good at all for anybody. That's what I thought of when I watched Murderball. I was like, oh, so anyway, this guy's like flopping around and he's just kind of, and his friends are trying to help him. And here's this is the kind-hearted crowd that's out there for the summer. He's like flopping around and he's unconscious. he's out there like, Jim, and they're trying to wake him up. And he turns over. They pour beer on his face. Wake up. Like in an old-time movie where you throw a bucket of water on a guy to revive him. Two guys just poured their beers on his head. Hey, dude, we'll revive you with beer. That'll be fun. Oh, Jesus. I think that's worse than what I did to him, quite frankly. I just knocked him out. These guys they were his buddies and they're pouring beer on him. And, but I got tickets to Dave. Went and saw Diamond Dave. That was beautiful. No shenanigans in line that time, friends. Also, I was watching Murderball, and I thought this was funny. There's a big rivalry between the United States and Canada. They're quadriplegic rugby teams, and they're there, and they're playing in the Paralympics. It's a really big event, and both teams are there, and they're excited, and the crowd is crazy, and the crowd did the wave, which to me was just like a big fuck you to every player on both teams. It was really... It wasn't even like the wave at that point isn't an expression of joy or an expression of excitement about a sporting event. The wave at that point is just rubbing in the fact that none of those guys can stand up at all. I watched it, and it's this fleeting moment, but that's the first thing I thought of. They just show the wave. It's like, yay! And I just thought, what do those guys in those chairs think about the wave? You think they're excited about it at all? Think they're looking around going, yeah, wow. Because the wave truly is the lamest thing you can do with your legs. And yet those guys are so desirous of doing the wave. Like that's how bad it is because they're quadriplegics. They're in a goddamn chair for the rest of their lives. They envy the wave. And the wave is awful. Nobody wants to do the wave. But then that crowd en masse just rubbed their faces in it. It was like literally they should have just cheered, look what we can do, as they did the goddamn wave. How mean is that? People don't think. I read a story. This is funny. They're like, you ever see those interviews where they ask people, hey, what would you do? What dead person do you like? And what movies would you take to a desert island? All that bullshit. They asked this person, what dead person would you have dinner with? And they said, Julia Child, because she's a fascinating cook. Really? You would dig up the corpse of Julia Child and make her cook you dinner, you jagoff? How rude is that? I would pick Julia Child because she's a fantastic cook. Well, nobody said, what slave would you want to bring from the grave? You're supposed to be eating dinner and having a nice time with these folks. Believe me, they're having a nice time in heaven or wherever the hell they are. If they're going to come back, Julia Child's not going to come back to cook for your fat ass. Who do you think you are? The dead celebrity you'd like to eat with most. Julia Child, because she's a fantastic cook. Really? So you're assuming that she would come back from the spirit world and make you crepes. You are a dick. So we went to AC/DC, and it was fun. And Karen didn't go. She was so mad that she didn't go because she wanted to go see AC/DC. And it's like, it's weird, man, because, I take her to a bunch of concerts that she wants to go to because we like the same bands. But then there's sometimes I just want to go with a friend. You just want to go with your friends. And I had told her, I go, look, if AC/DC comes, I'm going with Pat. And she's like, well, I want to go. I'm like, well, okay, well, then get one of your friends to go. But unfortunately, she doesn't have any friends who want to go see AC/DC because they're all ladies. So she, and it's funny, it's one time, like I went and saw Van Halen with Pat and Jimmy once, and this is when Karen and I had broken up. And Karen, this is when she was trying to get me to come back with her. And I say that, let's put it this way. I wanted to be back with her desperately, but there were things going on and whatever. So she went ahead and she bought tickets to Van Halen, not knowing that I was already going because, again, we weren't together. And she's like, I bought us tickets to Van Halen, and she got like 7th row seats.
Wow.
And I said, look, I already have tickets with Jimmy and Pat. And she's like, wait, are you kidding me? She went on Craigslist and paid like $350 a piece for these tickets. And I said, look, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm already going with these guys. I got plans. Da-da-da. And at the time, Karen had she had torn a ligament in her foot or something like that, so she was on crutches. And so driving was tough for her, and going anywhere was tough. So then I had that double guilt of how I should have driven and I should have brought her, whatever. But I said, look, just go. So she's like, fine, I'll go. That bullshit. So I go to the show, and I'm watching the show, and I'm not even thinking about it. And all of a sudden I look like in front of the stage, and someone is waving a crutch. Like up in the air, they're like waving a crutch at Sammy Hagar, and because this has done the reunion, this has been that tour, and Sammy Hagar's like pointing at the crutch, and I thought this person was going to hand him the crutch, and then I look, and Pat's got binoculars. It's my wife, and I looked at them, and I go, I think that's Karen. They're like, what? And I look, and it's Karen waving her crutch in the air at Van Halen. She, you know what she should have done is she just put a flag that said "Fuck you, Michael." Should have put that right on the crutch and just waved it around like, "Yeah, suck it. Look how close I am." Sammy Hagar is going to take my crutch. And then we're watching the show, and then I get a phone call during the show, and Karen wanted me to meet her somewhere in the Forum for sex.
Nice.
And or not the Staples Center. She wanted me. She's like, "Hey, why don't we do this?" And then I'm like, "No," because I don't even know how that's going to happen. Where as she's waving her crutches around, is she going to hobble into a hallway somewhere? I mean, if she's ambulatory, then maybe we can go ahead and do this. But right now, I'm busy watching Eddie Van Halen get drunk and not play guitar well. So, and the last thing I can do is tell the guys, "Hey guys, I'll be right back." And then it's awkward, and you're walking around. It just seemed, it was like, again, sounded like fun in theory, but at the time we were broken up. If we were together, I would have been all for it. I would have been like, "Hey, let's do it." And then part of me thought, well, if she's rubbing my face in it with the crutch and being so close, maybe she'll fucking text somebody else and go have sex in the goddamn Staples Center. I'm like, well, that's the way it's going to go. That'll be fine. Which would be like that story in Minnesota where the wife wound up banging some guy in a bathroom. That story is like crazy on 9 different levels. Like, she's somebody's wife and he's somebody's boyfriend, and yet they wind up in the men's room in the handicap stall fucking while 15 people cheer. Well, if your life has become the end of Requiem for a Dream, just go ahead and jump off a fucking bridge. If you got drunken Minnesota Golden Gopher fans yelling ass to ass, that's it. Divorce, close up shop. And then she got fired, like from her job. How do you fire that woman? I guess for the publicity and maybe if the reporters come, but it's like that had nothing to do with her job. Unless, every time she goes to take a bathroom break at the job, every guy in the place is just like giving her the eyebrow. Need some help in there? Huh? Terrible. And then she's like, "Hey, I think somebody slipped something into my drink." Really? Would that be the 10th drink or the 15th drink? Which one did they spike? Because roofies knock you out. They don't make you go, "Hey, I'm going to head to the bathroom and blow a strange guy." Wouldn't it be great if a crowd showed up? That's got to be the most dedicated husband in the world. He's just like, hey, it's my fault. I should have walked her to the bathroom. Really? You can't trust your wife to walk to the goddamn bathroom alone without winding up getting banged in the ass? That's a solid relationship right there. I love that somebody slips. She's like, people think somebody slipped something into my drink. Yes, I'm sure they do. You know what it was? Spanish fly. Oh, yeah. Does Spanish fly even work? I don't even know. When I was a kid, we tried it. We had a container of Spanish fly. This is when I was in 7th grade.
Where did you get it?
I don't even know. I think it was one of our friends' older brothers or something like that. It was because it's like the first time I ever smoked pot was in my backyard with like 15 kids in 6th grade, and it was a joint with strawberry rolling paper they had stolen from their older brother. So by the time it got to me, it was just you could wring out the spit. It was so disgusting. I think I've actually talked about that on the show, but we wound up getting this Spanish fly, and I was in 6th grade, was it? Yeah, I think so. I did a lot of crazy shit in 6th grade, and I remember slipping it into Antonio Carrasco's drink at lunch. This powder. Like again, if you did that now, you'd be on the national news. Like you drugged some kid in school, and I don't even know. Again, 6th grade. What the fuck was I gonna do? Am I gonna knock Antonio out or get her all horny and she's gonna fuck me? I don't even know. And again, I'm young for 6th grade because I get double promoted. So in 6th grade, I'm like 8 or something like that, and I'm sitting there with Antonio Carrasco and Rich Knudsen and Sam Rodriguez. We're at lunch. And I had told Rich and Sam about it, and they were like, let's do this. So then I think we're all going to tag team Antonio Carrasco. Antonia Carrasco, not Antonio. That would be very bad if all of a sudden we were like, let's fuck this guy. Let's get him Spanish flied up. But the Spanish fly, too, it was funny. It was in a plastic container with a plastic bag that said Spanish fly. And you know what? I might have found it in my house somewhere. I don't know, some friend of my mom's. Again, my mom had all these fucking horrible people walking in and out through the house. So I'm sure one of them dropped their Spanish fly, and we slipped it in Antonio's drink, and then we're all sitting there waiting for her to drink her milk. I mean, and we put weird powder in her milk. What the fuck are you thinking? I'm not thinking. I'm 9. So and then again, like I said, is she gonna then get horny and fuck the 3 of us? This plan is flawed from the jump. So, and then even worse, it's like a big plastic bag, and none of us know how much, puts it in to get her horny. Like we're like, well, is it a teaspoon? There's no directions on Spanish fly. It doesn't say exactly what we're supposed to do. So we dumped the entire bag into her milk, thinking apparently that now she's going to fuck the entire 7th grade. I mean, we really want to get Antonia as amped up as possible. And we dump it in there, and we like shake her milk when she walks away, and she comes back to drink her milk. And her milk is now like yellow and thick. I mean, it just makes no sense. We took her milk and turned it into like a banana milkshake with Spanish fly. I mean, so she looks at it and she's like, "What did you do to my milk?" And we're like, "Nothing. What are you talking about? Nothing at all." She's like, "What did you do? Did you put Quick in there?" We're like, "No. What are you saying? Just drink it. Drink it." She's like, "I'm not gonna drink it. That's awful." So she threw it away. So I have no idea if Spanish fly works or not. But I know you need to be a lot more subtle with it than I was in 6th grade. You need to be a lot more stealth with your Spanish fly. I was in science class with them once, too, when I was a kid. I remember this vividly. Speaking of things you can't do anymore in school, it's me, Rich, and Sam, and Antonia, and we're in science class, and we had Mr. Scully. And Mr. Scully was just creepy. Like, he was, like, shiny. Like, he had a thin coat of Vaseline on him at all times. And he had that bad hair that gets pushed to the side, and he was really effeminate. I mean, even in 6th or 7th grade, I knew that he was. And again, I grew up in a place where when you called somebody gay, it was the worst thing you could ever call them. Like, it was like, you meant it as the meanest thing ever. So, but we also knew what gay meant, so that's why it was so bad when you're a kid. And we're sitting in science class, and Mr. Scully comes around, and he's passing out our tests, and he's wearing a wedding ring. And Sam says to him, you have a wedding ring on? And Antonia Carrasco knows that we think he's gay, so she says out loud, like in that exaggerated way that only like 7th grade girls can, she goes, "Yeah, he's not gay, you guys." And everybody just kind of like, "What?" And I just looked at her and I go, "How do you know?" And he punched me right in the head. Punched me with that extended middle knuckle, just really racked me good. Like he raised an egg on my head. I mean, he jacked me. And because she's like, just this exact, he's not gay, you guys. How do you know? Like, what wise ass kid says that? Well, right in his face. I like it right in the guy's face. Oh, terrible. I was not a good kid. And he hit me hard. Certainly harder than I hit myself earlier in the show, folks. I can tell you that because again, I have no bump.
But you're still bright red.
Well, sure, because I wasn't pulling a punch.
Amazing.
Sure. Oh, yes, it's amazing. It's amazing how dysfunctional and fucking stupid and weird you are, Mike. Yes. All right, you guys can write me, Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com, or you can write me at MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy, or you can leave a review in iTunes and address it to me, and I'll read it eventually. I want to thank Gene George, who's a guy I've actually met, but he wrote a review on iTunes, and I think it was a review that actually sums up the show pretty good. Like, he actually called it the craziest answering machine message you would ever get from somebody. And I like that. Because that's what the show is, just me yammering. I'm a fan of that. I like that description, and I'm mad I didn't think of it myself. If only I'd punched myself harder in the head, I might have dislodged that thought. So thanks to him for writing that. And I'm going to tease something to you fine folks. I'm going to tease this. Tease the Monday Night Tease. There's a show coming up next Monday, December 15th, at the 3 Clubs. It's a burlesque show. It's a burlesque tribute to the Muppets.
Yay!
So bring your kids. Because you want your kids to start thinking about Fozzie Bear and nipples in the same thought. It is a tribute to the Muppets, and apparently people are dressing up like Muppets, and they're doing Muppet dances, and they're ready for the Muppet Show tonight. Bum, 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 da, 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 da. And Dr. Teeth might be there. But either way, come on out for that. Tickets are available at MondayNightTees.com. Are they available at Burlesque411.com?
The link to Brown Paper Tickets.
There will be a link to BrownPaperTickets.com. So go to brownpapertickets.com and get tickets, or I would go to MondayNightTees.com because then you can read all about who's in the show and who's doing what, and whether or not the Swedish Chef will be there. So go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and figure out if you're going to come to the show next Monday, December 15th. Come and check out the show. I'll be doing not stand-up. I'm not doing stand-up. All right, here's what I'm doing. You know on the Muppets, those old guys who sit in the balcony and make fun of everything? I have to be one of them. Wasn't my choice. I got roped into doing it. But me and my buddy David will be the Statler and Waldorf of the Burlesque Muppet Show this coming Monday, December 15th. And I don't know yet if I'm supposed to imitate those guys or if I'm supposed to wear a suit like those guys or if I can just be me and just be a smartass. I haven't figured it out yet. I haven't been briefed by the people who run. The Burlesque cabal has not gotten a hold of me and told me what I need to do. But go to MondayNightTees.com for any and all information you would want, and also you will find it on my website. But I would go to Monday Night Tees because chances are you'll see a naked chick there. So go ahead and check that out. And also, I wanted to thank, there's a listener to the podcast. His name is Ian. I don't think he's going to want me to say his full name. But I did the show tonight, like I said, at the UCB Theater. And then in the green room, there was a book, and it said, for Mike Schmidt, with a Post-it note. And then I opened it up, and there was a nice note from Ian. He got me this book, and what it is it's called Working Class Dog, A Day in the Life of Rick Springfield's 1981 classic album. Like it's a book about the making of the album. And I didn't open it and look at it yet because I was so stunned to get the book. And also inside were some comic books that Ian has written. They're called Zombie Tales on Boom Comics. They're called Zombie Tales the series. And Ian has actually written the comic books. So he gave those to me. And again, he's like, I know you like zombies, and I know you like Rick Springfield. And boy, you know what he should have written? How would you feel about a zombie Rick Springfield? Oh my God, it would be pathetic. I would love to have my brain eaten by a zombie Rick Springfield. So I gotta admit, I don't even put up much of a fight if the zombie Rick Springfield shows up. But the book is called actually A Year in the Life of a Working Class Dog, not A Day in the Life, and it's all about the making of the album. So I got to thank Ian for sending that my way. And I will tell Ian that I almost didn't get it because if you were at the show, I wish you would have come up to me, Ian, and introduced yourself and given me the book because in the back it was sitting in the green room. And then finally, after 2 hours, I looked and I saw a Post-it note that said, for Mike Schmidt. And I'm like, all right, well, I hope that's me. I mean, I would hate to think it was for somebody else. And I picked it up, and then your nice note was inside, along with the comic books and the book. And let's put it this way: when it said for Mike Schmidt, and I saw Rick Springfield on the front, I go, I don't give a fuck. It is for another Mike Schmidt. I'm taking it. I could not care less if this other Mike Schmidt, who happens to like zombies and Rick Springfield, wants this. It's mine. But then Ian wrote me a nice note, and he mentioned this podcast, so I did realize that it was for me. So that's good. So thanks, Ian. That's really cool of you. And I want to thank everybody who's written any reviews at iTunes and done those cool things. And people who've sent me, I've had people from Sweden who've sent me iTunes gift cards. It's very nice of you guys. So thank you so much for your sentiments and for your gifts. It's cool, and I love doing the show. And I will apologize for today's, because today was just, honestly, it's right now. It's 2 in the fucking morning. Is it 2? I don't know. 1? I get no idea. And I just, I'm not used to doing it at night, so I wound up. But luckily, old me showed up and punched myself in the face, and then we were able to go ahead and dislodge a thought and make a show out of it. So, thank you so much for listening to this Bataan Death March of a podcast. This is the podcast equivalent of The Long Walk by Richard Bachman. Go ahead and get that book. Richard Bachman, by the way, that's actually Stephen King. Don't tell anybody. I'm giving you a secret that you didn't even know about. Christmas is upon us, folks. That's right. It's no longer just around the corner, which I said in another show. I know it's here, folks. It is no longer around the corner. It is right in your goddamn face. That's right. Suck it. Christmas right in your grill. And, you're trying to figure out presents and who's going to give what. I got a Pat asked me when we were at AC/DC. He's like, hey, man, you want to go see Eddie Money next weekend? And I was like, no. Not necessarily because I don't want to see Eddie Money. Again, 51% band, 49% Pat. I love hanging out with Pat. So I'm like, Eddie Money, and honestly, I can't afford to go see Eddie Money. Like, right now, I have to be very discerning with my concert dollar. And long gone are the days when I looked at my wife and said, hey, you want to go see the Fratellis? No, nobody wants to see the Fratellis. But hey, we like that. Back when I was rich and I had money, I was like, hey, let's go see everybody. Hey, you want to go see Devo on Halloween night? Of course I do. Because I've got the kind of dough that it takes to push that kind of ticket around. So Eddie Money, I have to gracefully bow out because I can't come up with the scratch. I can't pony up the greenbacks for young Eddie Money. And Pat's like, oh, come on, don't worry about it. It'll be fun. And I'm like, nah. So then I get an email from the day, and the header of the email was just, I've got 2 tickets to ... And I open it up, and it says, that's right. I picked up the Eddie Money tickets. My treat for Christmas. Let's go. And I'm thinking, that's going to be great. And yet, I do not think I'm going to get a worse Christmas gift at any time this year. I have to go see this former New York cop sing songs from the 80s out of the side of his mouth and then try to get his autograph. I can think of no worse present than to get shivved for autographs by Eddie Money. I can't. Part of me, I have a perverse glee, actually, where I hope he does stiff us. Like, I want to be there, and I want him to just fucking 2 tickets to paradise right fucking past us, and also even make fun of us. Like, dudes, I'm Eddie Money. Seriously. They don't even want my autograph on checks at this point. The last thing you should want me to do is to sign your No Control album. But Pat's in, and it's like, how do I turn it down? I can't turn it down. I just, all right, yeah. Because again, so this show will be 51% Pat, 49% Eddie Money. And when we went out for Ted Nugent, and when we went to the Ted Nugent, same concert, same club, because it's easy to get autographs because you go around the back and kind of hide and then pounce. And we were there for Ted Nugent, and the woman came out to talk to the little kid who was waiting for Ted Nugent, and someone said, does everybody come out and sign autographs? She goes, well, not everybody. And they go, who was the worst person who ever came here and did a show? She goes, Eddie Money. He is an asshole. She said Eddie Money was an asshole. Why is he being mean to anybody? He's fucking Eddie Money, for Christ's sake. Wouldn't you be happy to be Eddie Money at this point if anybody came up to you and said, hey, I really like you, Eddie Money? Thank God. Let's have a 45-minute talk about the old days, because that's when I was relevant and good. But that's going to be the guy that I'm standing in line for in 3 days, waiting to get his autograph. Me and Pat sitting out there. Eddie Money's going to come sidling out, and he's going to sing like No Control or... dick, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy, but I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards. I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why: because you're a dick. You're finished. 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 You're finished.